It was the tail end of summer, New York City still simmering, but the air out on Long Island starting to hint at change that I found myself standing at the edge of everything I thought I knew. They say quiet places hold secrets, and the sprawling estate nestled between the Sound and endless sky was no different. It was supposed to be an escape, a family sanctuary, layered with years of memories, summer parties, and the quiet rhythm of seasons turning. Then Ethan arrived. Richard's son, the one from before, a ghost in their perfectly curated life. Stepping onto the manicured lawn, sunlight fracturing through the oak leaves, he shifted something in the air. A polite hello, late-night talks that drifted from art to regrets, easy conversations that felt anything but. He looked at me in a way that made me feel visible, seen in a way I hadn't been in years. Harmless talk, I told myself, but something deep inside was waking up. Richard, of course, noticed. He missed nothing. His gaze, those quiet, assessing looks during our conversations, like he was waiting for the fault line to crack. He never said a word, but the questions lingered, subtle barbs reminding me secrets were dangerous things, even out here in this gilded cage. This isn't a love story. Not really. And betrayal is too simple a word. It's about choices, moments that seem insignificant until you look back and see they were the hinges the whole world swung on. Standing here now, the echoes of that summer still in the air, I wonder if any of it could have been different. Or was I just swept away by something bigger? Secrets, they thrive in the dark, in the spaces between words. Once they take root, there's no going back. The estate, Richard's pride, stretched across acres of manicured lawns and ancient trees, a buffer against the crashing waves of the Sound. Each summer, it came alive, a stage for elaborate parties, weekend guests, a constant hum of activity that masked the underlying quiet. I'd become accustomed to it, the seamless blend of tradition and luxury. But this year felt different, a subtle shift in the air, a tension humming beneath the surface. Richard, 75, his grip on everything tightening with age, relied on me to manage the daily details of the estate, the endless logistics of his carefully constructed world. He oversaw it all, the house, the grounds, his investments, with the precision of a man who'd never tasted failure. Charming in his own way, persuasive, even in semi-retirement, he maintained an iron fist, a control he rarely relinquished. This year, though, he'd invited Ethan. I knew only fragments of Ethan's story, a son from a first marriage, a life Richard had long since buried. Richard's bitterness was a low hum, a quiet resentment that colored the few times he mentioned him. Ethan, in Richard's telling, was a disappointment, a man who'd chosen a path far from Richard's rigid definition of success. But when Ethan arrived, he was nothing like the caricature Richard had painted. Tall, with an easy grace, his movements quiet, like a man comfortable in solitude. Simple clothes, worn jeans, boots that looked like they'd seen miles of hard road. A quiet intensity, a shadow of a life lived outside the gilded walls of Richard's world. The first time he looked at me, his gaze lingered a fraction too long, thoughtful, curious, placing me in the landscape of his father's life. It was a look that peeled back layers, made me feel exposed, seen in a way I hadn't been in years. I felt the pull of his presence, a strange familiarity, a ghost of a life I'd almost forgotten. Over the next few days, Ethan became a quiet fixture. He'd wander the grounds, disappear for hours, reappear in the late afternoon, a thoughtful, distant look in his eyes. He moved through the house like a shadow, his presence a constant, unobtrusive reminder. Richard watched him, a hawk observing prey, his gaze sharp, assessing, as if Ethan was a rival, not his son. Their conversations were brief, stilted, an undercurrent of tension running beneath the surface. A chasm of unspoken resentments, grievances neither seemed willing to bridge. "So you're taking an interest in the place," Richard remarked one evening, as Ethan joined us on the terrace. Ethan shrugged, his gaze drifting over the manicured lawn. "It's peaceful here," he replied, non-committal. "I can see why you like it." Richard's expression softened, a flicker of something like pride, quickly masked by his usual guardedness. I watched them, the unspoken history hanging heavy in the air. A strange mix of empathy and curiosity stirred within me, a desire to understand the rift between them. As days turned into weeks, I found myself drawn to Ethan, intrigued by his quietness, his introspective nature, a stark contrast to Richard's controlled intensity. He was a man of few words, but when he spoke, it was with a thoughtfulness that caught me off guard, a quiet intelligence that suggested he saw more than he let on. One afternoon, Richard was in the city, and I found Ethan in the library, lost in a book. I hesitated in the doorway, but he looked up, a soft, unassuming smile that made me feel unexpectedly shy. Didn't mean to intrude, I said, stepping into the room. He shrugged, setting the book aside. You're not intruding, just passing time. A comfortable silence settled between us. I sat down across from him, my gaze drifting to the shelves, relics of a family history that felt distant, remote. I glanced at him, sensing his quiet attention, making me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt in years. Do you come here often? He asked, casual but with genuine interest. I nodded, a faint smile tugging at my lips. It's become my refuge, I suppose. This house, it can feel very large, very empty. He nodded, his gaze softening, and a warmth spread through me, a sense of connection. He understood. He saw the quiet loneliness beneath the surface, the restlessness I tried to ignore. We spent the afternoon in quiet conversation, words weaving a fragile connection, thrilling and dangerous. A subtle intimacy lingered even after he left the room. Richard remained oblivious, preoccupied with the endless demands of the estate. He moved through his days with a single-minded focus. The estate, his world, his legacy. But while Richard was lost in his world, I found myself slipping further into Ethan's, a world that felt more real, more alive. There was something about him, a quiet confidence that made me feel both vulnerable and alive, like he was peeling back layers I'd carefully constructed. One evening, walking the grounds at dusk, Ethan turned to me, his gaze thoughtful. Do you ever feel trapped here? He asked, his voice soft, tinged with understanding. Surprised, I looked at him, his question echoing my own unspoken thoughts. Sometimes, I admitted, barely a whisper. It's complicated. He nodded, a faint smile. We stood there, silence filled with unspoken words, a connection fragile and powerful. From that moment, our interactions shifted, a quiet charge in every glance, every accidental touch. Cautious, our conversations laced with attention hinting at something more. The pull was undeniable, the way he looked at me, a quiet curiosity, a warmth that made me feel seen, desired. Dangerous, I knew. A path to ruin, but I couldn't pull away. His presence, intoxicating, a reminder of a life I dreamed of. Passion, spontaneity, connection. As days passed, our unspoken bond grew stronger, and I knew I was on the edge of something irreversible. A choice that would change everything. It started small, an ember catching. Ethan brushing past me, a fleeting touch of his hand, each moment lingering too long. Imagination, loneliness, I told myself. But each day I was drawn further in, pulled into his orbit. Richard remained unaware, lost in the estate's demands. I'd watch him, silhouetted against the trees, movements brisk, chasing something only he could see. The estate, his world, his ambition. While Richard was preoccupied, I slipped deeper into Ethan's world, infinitely more real, more alive. Quiet moments in the library, conversations late into the night, weaving a fragile connection. One evening, sunset painting the sky, Ethan found me on the terrace, gazing out at the sound. He stood beside me, a steady warmth. It's beautiful out here, he murmured, his voice soft, gaze on the distant horizon. I nodded, pulse quickening, his presence making it hard to breathe. It is, I whispered. Eyes met, a silent understanding. He reached for my hand, fingers intertwining, a gesture both comforting and dangerous. We stood there, silence heavy with unspoken words. Then he pulled me closer, touch gentle, tentative, waiting for me to pull away. I didn't. Our first kiss, a breath of fresh air, a release from years of quiet resignation. Unexpected, unsought, but now real. Impossible to let go. Ethan awakened something in me, vitality, passion, long buried. But with passion, guilt, betrayal gnawing at the edges of my mind, promises broken, a life chosen. Each moment with Ethan, a thrill of secrecy, a rush of desire, followed by a hollow ache. Dangerous ground. Masters of discretion, we found ways to meet, slipping away in quiet hours under cover of night. Thrill in secrecy, walking a fine line, discovery a constant threat. Thrill tempered by fear, one misstep, everything unraveling. As days passed, the weight of our secret grew. Lying awake, Richard's steady breathing beside me, guilt pressing like a shroud. Harmless escape, I told myself. Fleeting, but it was more. Hiding an affair, hiding a part of myself, unsure I could ever bring back into the light. One afternoon, in the garden, Ethan found me, his presence a quiet reassurance. He sat beside me, gaze thoughtful, reaching for my hand, touch a steady comfort. "Are you okay?" he asked, tenderness in his voice. Heart aching, conflicting desires, I admitted. "I don't know. I feel trapped, caught between two lives, two worlds." He nodded, somber. Silence, unspoken words, a connection bittersweet. I wanted to tell him everything, unburden myself, but words wouldn't come, caught between fear and desire, loyalty and longing. Weeks passed, encounters bolder, moments together urgent, breathless. Stolen kisses in quiet corners, touches lingering too long, each encounter a reminder of the passion taking root. But with each day, the weight of our secret grew heavier. Richard's gaze lingered, questions pointed, presence a constant reminder of danger. He watched me, thoughtful, piecing together a puzzle, searching for cracks. One evening at dinner, he looked at me, gaze sharp, voice calm. "Eleanor, you seem different lately. Distracted." Caught off guard, heart racing, mind scrambling for an answer, a deflection. I forced a smile, voice steady. "Just the season, Richard. The estate, everything. It's a lot to manage." He nodded, expression unreadable, tension simmering, unspoken questions hanging in the air. Our secret, not as hidden as I thought. One evening, walking along the edge of the property, Ethan turned to me, thoughtful, vulnerable. "We don't have to keep hiding," he murmured, voice soft, steady. "We could leave, Eleanor. Start fresh somewhere else." A thrill, a glimpse of freedom, a life unfettered by secrets. Imagine a life with him, beyond these walls. Impossible. Bound to this life, these choices. Leaving, as frightening as it was exhilarating. "I can't," I whispered, voice trembling. "I'm not brave enough." He nodded, sadness in his eyes. No pressure, no argument. Instead, he pulled me close, holding me, his touch a quiet reassurance. For now, we had this moment, this fleeting escape. Days after the leaving conversation, a blur of secrecy and tension. Ethan's suggestion, a tantalizing, impossible promise of freedom, lingered. Escape, leave behind the weight of choices, but bound to this life. To Richard, by threads of loyalty, a life built together. Richard, more perceptive, gaze sharper, questions pointed. Always observant, rarely missing details, piecing something together, watching me with a careful, calculating eye. His presence, a shadow, our secret hanging by a thread. One evening, preparing for a gathering, Richard stopped me in the kitchen, gaze steady, voice calm, an edge that set me on alert. "Eleanor, you've been distant lately," he said, tone measured, coaxing a confession. "Is everything all right?" Forced smile, light, casual voice. "Of course, Richard. Just preoccupied with the estate, preparations, a lot to manage." He nodded, skepticism in his eyes, a flicker of doubt, heart racing. He didn't believe me, watching, waiting for a crack, a sign confirming suspicions. Looking at him, the weight of his gaze, our secret no longer a risk, a ticking time bomb. The next afternoon, organizing the library, a folder tucked between shelves caught my eye. Almost ignored it. Old property documents, invoices. But something about its hidden placement drew me in. Opened it, a chill. Letters, financial statements, legal documents, detailing debts, payments to creditors, Ethan's name on each, past disputes, demands for repayment, a debt collector's note, firm language, immediate payment on an outstanding balance. Heart sank, implications sinking in. Ethan's debts, his reason for being here, using me, manipulating our connection to escape his past. Betrayal, an ache deeper than expected. Blind, caught in a fantasy, a vision of Ethan constructed from loneliness. Desire. That evening, seeing Ethan in the garden, I couldn't hold back the questions. "Why didn't you tell me, Ethan?" I whispered, voice tight, heart pounding, suspicions about debts, trouble. He looked at me, guilt and defensiveness, dreading this moment. "I didn't want you to know," he replied, low, resigned. "I wanted to leave all that behind, start over." Pang of sadness, loss, the illusion slipping away, revealing a truth I wasn't ready for. Wanted to believe him, trust what we shared was real. But doubts lingered, shadows over our connection, love built on secrets, lies, no longer ignorable. Days that followed, Richard's suspicion sharper, questions pointed. His gaze on me, eyes narrowing, observing every move, silence intense, leaving me on edge. Rarely confronted directly, preferred to watch, analyze, let others reveal secrets through actions. One evening, hosting a gathering, Richard caught me alone, gaze sharp, tone edged with accusation. "Eleanor, I can't shake the feeling something's off between us," he said, voice low, tension quickening my pulse. "Is there something you're not telling me?" Heart pounding, weight of guilt suffocating me. Deny it, reassure him, but words wouldn't come, caught between guilt and loyalty to Ethan. "Just tired, Richard," I replied, voice trembling, the lie heavy. Long season, estate, harvest, so much to manage. He nodded, skeptical expression, gaze lingering, searching for truth, confirmation of suspicions taking root. Richard's suspicion, a shadow over everything, constant reminder of risk, danger beneath our facade. Nerves fraying, emotions stretched thin, navigating tension between love for Ethan and life with Richard. A life increasingly fragile, crumbling. One afternoon, tending to tasks, Silas, the groundskeeper, an old friend of Richard's, approached, thoughtful expression, gaze lingering. "Is everything all right, Mrs. Grant?" he asked, tone polite, undertone of concern, forced smile, steady voice. "Of course, Silas. Why wouldn't it be?" He nodded, unconvinced, doubt in his eyes, a chill down my spine. Silas, known Richard for years, perceptive, observant, rarely missed details. As he walked away, a pang of fear, dread, our secret no longer ours to keep. The weight of our secret, guilt, fear, too much to bear. One evening, meeting Ethan by the lake, sunset casting a warm glow, I confronted him, voice desperate. "Ethan, I don't know if I can keep doing this," I whispered, voice trembling, heart aching, this secret, this lie, consuming me. He looked at me, expression softening, regret in his eyes. "I never meant to hurt you, Eleanor," he murmured, reaching for my hand, touch of steady comfort. I needed you. I still do." Words sent a pang of sadness, love shared, passion binding us, beautiful and destructive. Wanted to hold on, believe we could make it work. But doubts lingered, questions haunting me since discovering his secrets. Standing there, silence heavy, we were at a crossroads, choices leading to no turning back. The evening Richard confronted me, the estate cloaked in heavy silence, even the land sensing what was coming. Sun slipped below the horizon, indigo and violet hues darkening. In the kitchen, washing dishes, restless energy filling me, I heard Richard's footsteps, steady, deliberate. "Eleanor," he called, voice firm, a tone he rarely used, something serious. Dried hands, bracing myself, turned to face him, doorway, posture rigid, gaze fixed, heart pounding. "We need to talk," he said, no room for argument. Nodded, swallowing hard, weight of secrets pressing down. Knew this moment was coming, lies unraveling. But now, terror, fear not just of discovery, but losing everything. Richard led me to the sitting room, motioned for me to sit, remained standing, gaze unwavering, expression calm, unsettling. "Is there something you want to tell me, Eleanor?" he asked, voice low, controlled, an edge chilling me. Opened mouth, searching for words, explanation, softening the truth. Silence stretched, heavy, unforgiving. "I know about you and Ethan," he said finally, words like blows, each hitting, breathless. "I've known for some time, waiting for you to have the decency to tell me yourself." Blood drained, heart pounding, room closing in, walls pressing down, struggling to breathe. "Richard," I began, but he cut me off, gaze hardening. "Spare me the excuses, Eleanor," he said, voice sharp, bitterness slicing through me. "I trusted you, I gave you everything, and this is how you repay me." Words hit like a physical blow, guilt settling like a shroud. Apologize, beg for forgiveness, but too late, nothing undoing the damage. "I never meant for it to happen," I whispered, voice trembling. Mistake, moment of weakness. Hollow words, empty, feeble attempt to rationalize something shattering our lives. Richard's gaze steady, expression unreadable, depth of anger, betrayal, a wound never healing. "I don't care about your excuses, Eleanor," he said, voice cold. "I want him gone, and after that, I'm not sure I want you here either." Later I found Ethan by the lake, silhouetted against the darkening sky. He turned, expression softening, tension, weariness in his gaze. "He knows, Ethan," I said, whisper, words hanging in the air, final, irrevocable truth. He nodded, resigned look. Figured it was only a matter of time. Silence, heavy, thick, each caught in thoughts, regrets. looked at him. Sadness, frustration, loss for life we could have had, love tainted by lies, secrets. "What happens now?" I asked, voice trembling, dread palpable. He looked away, gaze distant, shoulders slumping. "I don't know," he replied, quiet resignation. "Never wanted to hurt you, Eleanor. I just didn't know how to walk away." Words, sorrow and anger, choices made, decisions leading here. Wanted to forgive him, hold on to love shared, but doubts lingered, questions haunting me. "You should go," I whispered finally, words catching in my throat, each painful, life lost. "There's nothing left for us here." He nodded, sadness in his eyes. Thought he might argue, convince me to leave with him. But he simply turned and walked away, footsteps fading into the night, leaving me alone in silence, memories of what once was. Days that followed, emptiness I'd never known, hollow ache in my chest, life shattered, love lost. Richard and I, silent animosity, strangers in the house, each in grief, resentment. Rarely spoke, gaze distant, expression unreadable, erased me from his life, years together nothing more than a memory, a shadow he'd forget. One evening, dinner, Richard looked at me, gaze cold, determined, chilling me. "I've spoken with my lawyer," he said, voice calm, quiet fury. "I want you out of this house by the end of the month." Words hit like a blow, finality of his decisions, loss unbearable. Argue, plead, pointless, no forgiveness, no repairing the damage. Looking at him, weight of anger. Betrayal, I was truly alone, life known gone, lost to choices made, secrets tearing us apart. Morning I left, quiet, air still, silence final. Packed belongings, fragments of a life distant, foreign, someone else's. Richard didn't see me off, inside, silent reminder of love once ours, shattered beyond repair. Driving away, estate receding, strange relief, lightness unexpected. Lost everything, love, home, life with Richard. But in loss, quiet freedom, release from secrets haunting me, lies tearing my life apart. Looking back, estate fading, bittersweet closure, quiet acceptance of choices, life left behind. Weeks after leaving, strange quiet emptiness, world familiar and foreign, drifting between two lives, one left behind, one learning to navigate alone. Each day, reminder of loss, regret, echoes of choices, no taking back. Moved to a small town by the coast, rented a modest cottage, windswept cliff, ocean endless. Far from the estate, life with Richard, quiet simplicity, solace. Chance to rebuild in shadows of everything left behind. Stormy nights, walking cliffs, wind whipping, waves crashing, tumultuous path traveled. Days with Ethan, stolen moments, passion burning brightly, then ashes. Sadness and memories, deep ache for what might have been, quiet acceptance, loved and lost, love setting me free. Weeks turned months, reflecting on choices, life with Richard, secrets tearing us apart. Loved him once, steady, unwavering love, solid as the land we tended. But love grew quiet, rhythm leaving little room for passion, connection dreamed of. Ethan arrived, excitement, reminder of life thought buried, awakened desire for freedom, adventure, real, alive connection. Gave in to desire, knowing risk, price. Lost everything, no regrets entirely. Strange strength accepting choices, facing consequences, moving forward. Betrayed Richard, shattered life built together, ashes of what once was, resilience found, quiet resolve to forge a new path, reclaim self-loss in shadows. Time, ache of loss faded, gentle peace, quiet balm. Rhythm in solitude, purpose in simple tasks. Started painting again, coastline beauty, ocean colors changing, light dancing on waves. Each brushstroke, release, letting go, unburdening past. People in town asked about life, where I came from, vague answers, fragments of a story once defining me. Not the same woman who arrived at the estate, wife beside Richard, content in chosen role. Something else now, forged in fire of love and loss, faced depths of soul, emerged, changed, scarred, but whole. Each day, memories faded, pain softened, gratitude for life lived, love known, even fleeting, loved deeply, fiercely, cost everything, set me free, stepped into life truly my own. Standing here, looking over ocean, waves rolling in steady rhythm, quiet resolve, peace accepting choices leading here. No longer haunted by ghosts of past, regrets, what-ifs. Freedom in solitude, strength in quiet. For the first time in years, Whole, complete in a way never thought possible. May never know if Ethan found his life. Peace seeking in our time. May never see Richard again. Find forgiveness once craved. Don't need it now. Enough on my own. Life built in wake of loss belongs to me, me alone. Sunsets over water, gold and crimson hues, smiling, quiet, bittersweet smile, turned away from past, facing future, ready to embrace whatever lies ahead.